Guys, welcome back to the Unhealed Woman Podcast. This is Jaquana Austin, and I'm here with my girl, Sapphire. She enjoys working with clients who suffer from anxiety and depression, guilt, negative self-image, emotional and energetic blockages, and trauma due to negative life experiences, which we talked about a lot throughout my past episodes. So it's near and dear to me. And she is a North Carolina native as well. Born and raised here in North Carolina. She takes on a holistic approach, which I am definitely getting into now, when it comes to like herbs and things like that, and not having to take medication, y'all. That is like big in my household right now. So I thought it was perfect to have her on this episode because we just are aligning in so many different areas. So I will allow her to say a few more things about herself, and then we will dig into some questions. So go ahead,
Thank
Sapphire.
you so much, Jaquana. Thank you so much for having me up here. I have been watching your YouTube channel and just been watching you grow. And I follow you on Facebook, and you know I love just always your message about God and just healing. And so it is an honor to be up here with you today. So thank you. Um, you pretty much covered a lot of different things about me. I love being a mom. Like you said, I love taking a holistic approach. So I like using herbs, and also like to encourage women to practice yoni steaming or vaginal steaming. So that's something that I'm also into as well.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. All of it is good. I think it's great to get awareness out on all of these things because in a society where we are pushed to do medications and all this, the pharmaceutical industry and things like that, when there are alternatives that are more healthy, and more holistic for us to do, especially as Black and brown people, I think it is just very important. So we will get into some questions. We're going to ask her some questions and allow her to pour out her expertise in everything that she knows, the knowledge that she has. So my first question for you is, what is emotional intelligence and why is it important in our daily lives?
Okay, emotional intelligence. So good question. What I've noticed about emotional intelligence is pretty much being clear and observant and aware of your emotions, and not only your own emotions, but the emotions of those around you. I feel like emotional intelligence is very important because it's a well-being thing. You know, just like how we take care of our physical health, our mental and emotional well-being is just as important. And just like how you was talking about the holistic approach, our emotions has a lot to do with the outcome of our body and the types of diseases that we're carrying. So like for instance, you know, it's emotional intelligence is important because it can be the difference between life or death in some situations. If you know, emotions carry a vibration. You know, some emotions feel light, some emotions feel really good, but on the other hand, some emotions such as guilt or shame can weigh a lot of us down. And if we hold on to those things and without noticing and just kind of, you know, living on our daily life with these emotions, it can cause us to be sick. And so it's important to have emotional intelligence for your entire well-being.
That is for sure facts because I have dealt with, the holding on to guilt and shame, and it does in turn make you extremely tired. You can have body aches. Like people don't understand that like your mental well-being can eventually trickle down into your your physical. So like giving you,
Absolutely.
yeah, so some of the diseases are genetic and things like that too, but like mental well-being is also vital and can trickle down into that. I don't think people necessarily align that often, but thank you for bringing that up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so what are some common barriers that people face in developing emotional intelligence?
For one, some people don't go to therapy. So, you know, as a therapist, my one of my major approaches is to educate my clients on what emotions are. Like, you know, well, that's one of the first things that I like to do with some of the kids that I work with, you know, just trying to gauge, what are the emotions that you know of, and you'll come to find that a lot of people, some of the first and only ones that they'll say are happy, sad, angry. Um, yeah, that's the
Mhm.
major ones that you hear people saying, but there's so many more.
Yes, and I think too it's important to bring up that because me as an adult, I'm still trying to navigate understanding my emotions because as a kid and growing up, I was in a position, or I felt that I was in a position to suppress my emotions. And now it's kind of like I've had to learn how to put the correct emotion with what was really happening. And that's just due to like childhood trauma and growing up, not being able
Yeah,
to. Thanks, babe.
absolutely. Absolutely. And that's what I was going to say. Jaquana, I don't know if I can hear you. Are you still, is your mic still on?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you now. Okay, great.
I paused for a
Uh,
second.
Sorry.
Are you fine?
That's a great point. Growing up, a lot of children, unfortunately, they don't really have adults that take the time to share or investigate emotions or be curious about kids' emotions or even um kind of get them to understand what they're feeling like. So, oh, okay, so you were angry, but really on the inside you were really kind of embarrassed about something, or you were frustrating about something going else in the background. So having a emotionally mature and emotionally intelligent adult is very beneficial to younger children. That's how children can learn to develop emotional intelligence.
Right.
Another way to develop your emotional intelligence is to spend time in stillness. Some so quickly we can just be on the hustle and bustle and the go and on the grind. We really don't check in with ourselves to kind of ask ourselves, how am I feeling in that moment? We're just so caught up in a doing society.
Mhm. I agree with that because in our society, we do have this mentality of just getting on with things and just keeping it going, and not stopping and sitting with ourselves and learning ourselves. Because I mean, we're learning everything else, but for some reason, it's hard for us to just sit down and say, what am I feeling? What am I doing? Like, who am I? So
Yeah.
and so that is a great point, and I appreciate you picking up on that because that is something that as I feel as mothers and as women too, as nurturers and wanting to help everybody else around us, we tend to do that and we kind of neglect neglect ourselves in a way when it
Hmm.
comes to emotionally or just trying to stay strong for everybody else and making sure everybody else is good when we're you know tending to neglect our emotions, what we're feeling,
Yeah.
going through, and some of the traumatic experiences that we have to kind of be like, okay, this happened. Okay, now I have to tend to this and kind of move on with life.
Hmm. Exactly. Exactly. And again, if you're not aware of the emotions that you're carrying, how are you going to, release them or manage them or deal with them?
Exactly, in a healthy manner. Like you
Hmm.
uh I always talk about the empty cup. You can't pour from an empty cup because then you'll be, pouring from an unhealthy place, thinking from an unhealthy place. So it's very important to heal what's up here when going through and navigating through life.
Absolutely.
Our next question is, what strategies can someone use to enhance their emotional intelligence?
Okay. Strategies to enhance your emotional intelligence can look like meditation. It can look like educating yourself on the different types of emotions, keeping a thought log or an emotion journal so that way you are in practice of sitting with yourself and identifying different emotions. Um, Talking with your therapist, having somebody to kind of reflect your emotion, or having that person from an outside perspective kind of probe and suggest, like, so maybe was that what you were feeling, or what was
Yeah.
going on with you in that moment, so that way that person is having you for you to slow down and to reflect back and kind of say, well, oh, you're right, well, I was feeling like that, or I guess I was feeling like that.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And
Hmm.
that's funny that you bring that up because I actually created a mental health tracker um, for people. It's like a 30-day mental health tracker.
Wow.
I have not put it out yet, but now that you say this, it's kind of like, okay, maybe
Yeah.
people, because it is important to, on a daily basis, really evaluate what you're feeling, to where it
Right.
becomes a habit, and something natural to you. And that's why I say
Hmm.
start the kids early, because they, if they get it down packed now, it'll be like second nature to them when they're grown.
Yeah. And it'll enhance their communication skills.
Yes.
What when you brought up the tracker, I thought about even journaling is a good tool to use to increase your emotional intelligence. Talking with yourself, processing your day, reflecting. Because it's just you in the journal. You don't have to kind of mask what you are feeling. You can be honest with yourself. You can say, "Yeah, that kind of teed me off a little bit," but I acted like everything was all right, but really it wasn't.
Right. All right. So thank you for answering that question. We'll go right into, I think we're on question number 4. So what are some signs that your nervous system may be dysregulated? Like, what are some signs that would show that?
Yeah, good question. Um, there are so many different ways that the body can try to communicate with you that there's this regulation going on. Changes in your digestive system is one. Loss of appetite or eating too much, that can indicate, maybe I'm having some additional stress. Um, One thing that I like to incorporate when I am kind of explaining to people what are the different signs of dysregulation, because when you are more aware of what the signs are for dysregulation, therefore you can kind of have a more controlled sense of managing it. And so I kind of like to break it down. I even like to incorporate some of the biology in this lesson. So, like, we have a vagus nerve, and this nerve is in charge of like our nervous system regulation, and it goes behind our ear, down our throat, all the way down into our digestive system. And so, just like when people are nervous or they are um nerves are tore up. We hear that, oh, my nerves are bad. They get a tummy ache, their stomach starts growling, they can't eat, I can't sleep. Those are signs of dysregulation. Aggression, anxiety, yelling,
Hmm.
uh, being tearful. Those are some common signs of dysregulation. Um, Increased heart rate, changes in your breathing, being defensive, those are signs of dysregulation. That's more so on the behavior side. But also when we are so dysregulated for over an extended period of time, our body will naturally kind of crash out and kind of go into its own recovery mode. And this can even be looked at as sometimes even as depression symptoms. You are isolating, you become immobilized, like, I'm not really in the mood, or no, I don't feel like it today. I just want to lay in bed all day and sleep. And I don't know why, I just not feeling it. That's your body. If you are suffering from chronic anxiety or stress, your body might have a few days where it's trying to recover itself. And so that can be another indication of dysregulation.
Hmm. Yep. Because with anxiety, I have dealt with like indigestion and things like that, not being able to process food properly. Like, you'll think
Mm,
that you have like this digestive issue when really it could be just like a mental thing. If you just get your
right.
mental on track and get some sleep, you'll be surprised at what disappears.
Why
So,
am I sick all the time? This and that and the
uh-huh.
third. Well,
Yeah.
how are you? No,
Yep.
are you taking care of yourself? Are you eating right?
Exactly. Exactly. And it takes discipline because I know I love to eat and I'm still working on getting on a good, natural.
Same here.
Yeah.
Same here. If anybody knows any detox teas or capsules, put me
Right.
on, because I am feeling like some
Yes.
shedding,
Okay.
like gotta cut some things out of my life that are
Right.
just not in alignment.
Exactly. It's okay. We're gonna get there.
We get in there. Look, we're in the process.
I think we kind of hit this next question on, but if there's something that you want to add, we'll go into it. What techniques can individuals use to regulate their nervous system in stressful situations?
So one of my personal favorites is tapping, EFT tapping. That is a strategy where you are tapping on different acupressure points on your body to remove and release stagnant emotions or unwanted emotions. So that's one of my favorites. Another is exercise, um, breath work, which is like your breathing practices, but doing it intentionally. Lots of people do yoga because that's involving the body to release unwanted emotions or to keep your body regulated. Um, Going to therapy is another big one. And also kind of just becoming aware of your triggers. What are the things that are causing me to be dysregulated? What are the things that are getting me a little beside myself? There's this thing called neuroception, and everybody's neuroception is different. Like, you go outside and you see a white van, you might say, "Yay, ice cream truck." I go outside and I see a white van, I'm like, "Oh Lord, a creepy Law and
Right.
Order or
Mhm.
something." And so just becoming of what causes you dysregulation, what gets you anxious and stirred up.
Right. Right. Yeah, knowing
Hmm.
those triggers. Learning yourself.
Yes.
Mhm.
Hmm.
So our next question and last question, and I also let me go back because I know you said the tapping method, which I've heard of as well, that is very useful, and I would love to kind of tap into that as well when it comes to anxiety and when you're feeling
Oh yeah.
anxiety and things like that. Are you familiar with EMDR as well? Like,
I'm familiar with it, but I don't actually do it myself.
okay,
And tapping does involve some EMDR like related strategies because it's like you're using your eyes because that's connected to your brain. And so when we're tapping, we're doing things with our eyes as well,
okay.
helping our brain get reprogrammed. And
So
another thing that I meant to mention, go ahead. I'm sorry. What was you getting ready to ask?
I'll say so. The tapping method kind of helps you get more in tune with your body. Is it like a? Is that
It's
what's
a mind body intervention. We're not only using our body and tapping on these acupressure points, but we're also using a narrative, or we're also saying certain cognitive statements that is getting our body to release this emotion. So the first half of a tapping session is you'll be recognizing the emotion or bringing it up or allowing it to be on the focus. Like, for example, if we're tapping on anxiety, we would just kind of be focusing on the anxiety, noticing this anxiety, feeling like, and kind of describing it in your body. That's like a somatic practice where you're I'm noticing this anxiety centered here in my chest, or I'm noticing it in my neck. And so verbalizing that and bringing that to a conscious awareness helps to release it as well.
awesome? Yeah, that.
Hmm.
So yeah, I'm definitely interested in that. So I'm gonna be hitting you up.
Quana, another one that was a big game changer for me was a listening therapy called Safe and Sound Protocol
Okay.
that tones the vagus nerve. Just like the vagus nerve that I had mentioned earlier. Sometimes we go through traumatic events or just over periods of time from stress and life, our vagus nerve, just like a muscle, can lose its tone. And
Ooh,
so when you're doing the listening therapy is called Safe and Sound Protocol. It's the frequencies and the sounds are toning the vagus nerve back up, so that way you are feeling more safe rather than in that survival mode. So that was a big game changer for me, because I'm sensitive to sounds. I grew up in a good household, but we had some chaotic moments, and that impacted my nervous system. And so, being that I went through that over a period of time, that it affected my nervous system, I became sensitive to sounds, and certain things were causing a lot of dysregulation for me. And so, like, for example, like if the kids are playing or they're screaming or they're whining, that is very activating for me. And it's like, oh my God, I need to like really take a breath. And so after I went through the listening program, I started to notice, first of all, increased awareness of my dysregulation, but then just kind of, it really helped me to feel more connected to my kids because when I'm dysregulated, I'm perceiving their whining and their behaviors as they're adding out, they're misbehaving, they're triggering me, a threat, whatever. And so after the listening program, it helped me to perceive them as like, oh, it's a human being that needs my help. So
right.
it like really changed my perception, my neural perception of what an actual threat was.
And that is important because our kids are still human. So for us to listen and process and understand what they're feeling, even though they may not be old enough to quite explain it, but walking them through their emotions and what they're feeling and how to deal with those is important too.
Absolutely.
So our last question, what